Today we're getting into something really cool. Monster design.
More specifically, we're seeing how one designer used the Beast, that iconic monster from Amnesia, the bunker, to totally revamp their own monster.
Yeah, we got our hands on their design document, and it's amazing. They break down what makes a creature scary and how they use those ideas to transform their own monster, Hex.
It shows how looking at what makes other designs work, even in different places like video games, can spark some serious creativity.
So, ready to meet the monsters? First up from your nightmares is the Beast.
Yeah, it's a creature that really gets under your skin, tapping into those primal fears we all have.
Okay, picture this. A rotting, messed up thing, all twisted limbs and claws. It can be hiding in the shadows one minute, then bam, right in your face the next. And don't even get me started on the face.
But that's what makes it so good. Amnesia, the bunker, doesn't just rely on what you see. The sounds are incredible, these growls and shrieks echoing everywhere. You never know when it's coming, which makes it even scarier.
Like they're messing with your head, right? You can't see anything in the game, which makes it worse. Stumbling around in the dark, and then bam!
It's psychological horror at its finest. You're up against something you can't see in the dark, and that's terrifying.
Now, on to monster number 2, Hex. Unlike the Beast, Hex was designed for a haunted house, so it's a whole different thing.
A good contrast, for sure. You have to think about the design differently depending on where the monster is going to be. Haunted houses are about fear, but you want people to have fun too.
Exactly. More like a roller coaster than a nightmare. But the 2023 version of Hex, let's just say it was more silly than scary. Picture this. Claws, this weird bird buck face. And get this, it would randomly start dancing.
Dancing, that's one way to do a haunted house, I guess.
Oh, it gets better. This thing was wearing jeans and a workout shirt under a big coat. Talk about a fashion disaster.
Yeah, I can see how that wouldn't really scare anyone. Doesn't exactly scream monster.
Right, it's like they couldn't decide if they wanted a monster or some creepy mascot. But you see the problem, right?
And this is where the creator's notes get really interesting. They use fear, fun, and realism to rate the Beast and Hex. Surprisingly useful, even for made-up creatures.
Okay, so let's talk about this rating system. Fear, that's a given with monsters, right? But you're saying even a fake thing needs to be realistic. How does that work?
Totally. Okay, so maybe these things aren't real, but a well-designed monster needs to make sense. Why does it look that way? What's its deal? The details are what make it believable, even if it's a fantasy.
So it's not just about being scary looking, it's about making us believe it could actually be real, even if it's in a nightmare.
Exactly. Look at the Beast. It's a soldier mutated by bad water, which is sad and messed up, but it makes sense in the game. It adds this layer of depth and even a weird kind of realism that makes it even scarier.
So even in horror, a good backstory helps. But how does this realism thing apply to Hex in those genes?
Yeah. That's where it kind of falls apart. The normal clothes clash with the monster part. It just looks weird. Like, imagine a werewolf wearing a suit. Something's not right.
Totally ruins the whole scary vibe, right?
For sure. Those little things matter. Yeah. In a haunted house, you're trying to make it an experience, so it needs to make sense if you want to scare people.
So we've got the Beast, scary as heck, and Hex, our fashion challenge friend. But how do they rate on the fun part?
That's where things get interesting, right? The Beast, in that kind of game, isn't supposed to be fun. It's there to scare you, and you're trying to survive, not have a good time.
Right, you can't really crack jokes with a monster while you're running for your life. But Hex is in a haunted house, so it needs to be scary and fun, which is tough to do.
Totally. Haunted houses are about getting your heart racing, but not giving you nightmares for weeks. It's a tough line to walk.
And those dance breaks probably weren't helping Hex's scary image. But it sounds like 2023 Hex wasn't scary or realistic, so what did they learn from the Beast?
Okay, this is the cool part. Seeing how well the Beast worked, they totally redesigned Hex for 2024. They went back to the drawing board with fear, fun, and realism in mind this time.
Monster makeover time. Let's start with the obvious problem. The clothes. Did Hex finally ditch the gym attire and go full monster?
You bet. No more workout clothes. They got rid of the jeans and that shirt, replaced them with baggier pants, sometimes a dark green shirt, sometimes a black one. Way creepier.
Less gym, more monster. I like it. What else?
Remember how Amnesia uses sounds to freak you out? They definitely took notes. They put a speaker in Hex's jacket. Now it makes these breathing sounds that'll give you chills.
Dude, creepy sounds are the best in horror. Sometimes it's what you hear that gets you. What about that size-changing thing the Beast did? Did they try that with Hex too?
They did. They gave Hex bigger boots with things that spark to make it taller. Not only that, but those sparks add a watch-out kind of feel, like it's dangerous.
Smart. It's gotta look awesome in a dark haunted house. Any other changes?
They gave it a new staff that makes sparks when it's dragged on the ground. Again, little details that make it feel dangerous. Oh, and they added shoulder pads to make it look even bigger and stronger.
So they basically took what made the Beast so scary and used it on Hex, but for a haunted house. Did it work? Was 2024 Hex actually scary?
Let's just say mission accomplished. Remember those ratings? Fear, fun, realism?
Yeah.
2024 Hex got way scarier.
No more Mr. Nice Monster. What about the fun score, though? Did making it scarier ruin the fun?
It was definitely more serious, more focused on the scares, but there were still those fun little moments, so it was a good mix.
So they found a balance. What about the realism score? Did getting rid of those clothes help Hex seem more believable?
Oh yeah, definitely. Hex finally looked like it belonged in a haunted house, like a real creature from somewhere else. The changes were a home run.
It's kind of wild how a few tweaks, inspired by a totally different monster, could completely change things.
Shows you how important good design is, and how looking at what works, even in totally different places, can give you great ideas.